Hey Mark, I hope you're good. Oh, I'm sorry about the background noise. I'm in a co-working space doing a newsletter, but I just wanted to let you know I cannot wait to have you over to record the podcast. I know that we're going to have the most incredible chat about burnout, imposter syndrome, and all of those other things that keep us feeling stuck and small. So see you soon. Can't wait.
Hey, I'm Mark Whittle.
And I'm Anna Martha.
And this is a 2-part mini-series of the Take Flight podcast.
And in this episode, we talk all about burnout, striving, not feeling good enough.
I'm Mark Whittle, former athlete and city worker turned life and performance coach. And this is the Take Flight podcast. We talk with the greatest minds and performers in the world and understand what it takes to reach your fullest potential and be unapologetically you. If you're finished with conforming to societal norms, done with being told who to be, and ready to take your own life into your hands, subscribe to this channel to hear the most unique conversations and be prepared to be enlightened, educated, and empowered. Our goal is simple: to support and help you navigate your own hero's journey. Enjoy our content, and when you're ready to go that step further, join our private or group coaching programs by inquiring at www.takeflightworld.com or by following me and DMing at @MarkWhittle_TF. Fasten your seatbelt, it's time to take flight.
Anna.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me at your house.
Wow, yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to have you.
Yeah. So this is your usual space for your creativity.
Yeah, and I've seen clients on this sofa. So out of shot is an old leather chair that my friend gave me from a pub that she worked in.
Oh, no.
And that's where I would sit and see clients. So it's nice being on the sofa with you.
Well, you already diagnosed me with ADHD.
We've had a good chat about that.
So, okay, we're doing 2 episodes like I normally do now, and we're going to split them up into 2 sort of varied topics, although there'll be a lot of crossover. So this one was going to be burnout,
Yeah.
which I haven't really talked about in depth before. Have you talked about it in depth before?
Yeah, it's something I have talked about more as I have been through it.
Yeah.
And just, I think with my therapist head on, I tend to kind of just, dismantle it a little bit and be like, what the heck has gone on there? And how can I make sure this doesn't happen again? And if I've been through this, then I know full well that other people will have been through this. So what can I learn and share? Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
Lovely.
Before we do, your energy is awesome.
Oh.
Do you hear that a lot?
No, very occasionally people say that to me.
It is.
Thank you.
Very good vibe.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that probably contributes to how many people you're impacting and, all the great success that you've had. So it's amazing.
Thank you. That's really kind. I think, it's so easy to question ourselves, isn't it? And this morning I've had a real tough parenting morning. So I think you can just so quickly move into that, I'm not good enough state of that was really failed there. And so that's really encouraging to know that I'm not completely broken, that I'm still.
Yeah. No, you got honestly amazing energy. First thing I thought, and a lovely smile.
Yeah.
But because the people who I have told about coming here, everyone's like, oh, I'd love to meet her. She seems so nice.
Should have come along.
It was my wife, obviously, who I think I told you in DMs she was reading all your books during lockdown. And then my sister-in-law as well.
Wow, that's
who are both big
know.
Fans. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So, burnout.
Yeah.
I am, all honesty, as a life coach, performance coach, but as a life coach, I'm going through a period of burnout right now and starting to feel a little bit better, literally this morning. But it's been a while and I've experienced it many times before. I've also had chronic fatigue before.
Yeah.
So I'd love to just hear about your experiences with burnout as well. I can talk a little bit about mine as well, but I'd love to hear your version of it and how it came about.
Oh my gosh, burnout has been so humbling for me. I have historically been a perfectionist, type A personality, go, 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 very creative, always got 10 things on the go. And I think that's what I've always been praised for, in work settings, just output. I write books quickly, I get stuff done quickly. But I think what we often don't realise is that when you're wired in that way, it has a cost. Burnout happens when we override the limits of our resources repeatedly. And I think when you're getting praised and you're getting good feedback, and it's so easy just to want to live in that mode of giving and putting out. And then add parenting on top of that as well. And yeah, I've hit burnout. And I remember one experience of burnout that happened after the pandemic that was just eye-opening. It gave me a whole new respect for the limits of my own energy and time that I would often kind of just override and push through. And it found me not really able to do anything well at all. So I think it happens because of two reasons. One is circumstances. You know, sometimes we go through periods of life and like we're just really busy and there's little we can do about it. It might be stuff at home. It might be that there's certain projects on at work and it's just like go, go, go. But normally that should come to an end, right? That shouldn't be the norm. We can't live like that. It's not sustainable. And then the other pressure that can lead to burnout is like the internal stuff, like the perfectionism, the pressure that we put on ourselves, the fear of failure, the wanting to do everything right and brilliantly. That's exhausting, and also that's not sustainable. So I had the two things. I'd been parenting in the pandemic, I'd been working really hard, but also I wasn't really taking into account my limits and my humanness. Yeah. So yeah, just completely and utterly crashed. And then I couldn't do anything. And it was eye-opening and very, very humbling.
How long did it last for?
Well, I remember the first day of really realising how bad things were, and we were due to go on the first holiday post-pandemic. So my husband's family, he grew up in Wales, and they were selling their family home, and they'd been renting it out as an Airbnb, right? So this was our last chance to go to this house that we'd been going to for like 15 years and that he was brought up in. So the kids were really excited, and I just could not pack. I could not pack I could not think about it. My husband would be like, right, let's think about a plan. What time we're going to leave? And I would literally feel panicky at the thought of any logistics. So it came to the day to leave, and I had packed nothing. And yeah, it was, you know, he was really kind. He was like, right, I'll tell you what, I'll take the kids out for a couple of hours and you can just crack on and get stuff done. Because I like packing, I like to be in control of that. So I took the kids out, 2 hours, came home. I was sat on the kitchen floor crying with a water bottle in a bag. And that's all I'd done. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get my head around it. I couldn't think about the things that we needed. I couldn't even think about being in the car for 4 hours. And it suddenly occurred to me that maybe we just didn't go. So we didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go?
No, we didn't go. And I felt so guilty. I felt awful. The kids were upset. This was his last chance to see his family home. But I had this light bulb moment that was, I had given and given and given, and I was spent. And my burnout was at everyone's cost. You know, everyone had benefited from me just ploughing on through. So whilst I felt guilty, I also realised that it was a collective price to pay. So I felt really guilty, but I knew that, say I'd booked a holiday and I put it on my credit card and we all went on this holiday and had a wonderful time, right? That debt, we've all benefited from that debt. So therefore, we all have to work to repay that debt. And that is how I started seeing burnout, was that actually when we give and we give and we give and people benefit, there's always a cost. So the burnout itself, I just couldn't make decisions for ages. I couldn't deal with any kind of level of stress. But to recover, I had to change my life. It wasn't a case of just getting back on the horse and like having a couple of days off. It was a case of actually I have to reshape how I approach life, how much stuff I put in it, what I say yes to, and my internal dialogue. So I had to change my life. So my life looks different now, and I have a whole respect for my body my mind, my diary. Yeah.
Amazing. Like you need that message. It's telling you something. I feel like mine, in the work that we do as well, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this because we're in the service industry really of helping other people.
Yeah.
Part of that perfectionism or that want to succeed that is combined with like a desire to help people is so strong when you have like sessions booked in or you have people who need you and family and clients and companies you work with, all this stuff, that in that moment it's very empowering to choose you and not go on the holiday, or to choose, like the first time ever this week I cancelled clients.
Yeah.
Because I just literally was like, I can't do it. Actually, even in that though, it was like an unselfish, like, because I won't be in the best place to help you, you know, that narrative. But yeah, I just a lot came up as you were saying that. Can I just ask, I don't know, I hadn't even thought of this before you were speaking, but where's the cutoff between like, or even is there one, burnout and depression?
I think burnout can very much feel like depression, and I think it's a crash of sorts, isn't it? Like a physical and mental crash. And I think it can feel very much, I think there's a lot of crossover, to be honest. And I think if we don't change things as a result of burnout in the long term, because it's just showing us that the way things are structured and the level you're giving out at is not sustainable. So yeah, we can pick ourselves up, we can cancel things, we can think I'm going to take it easy this week. But actually, if we then step back into the level of work or, you know, internal kind of perfectionism, then we're just going to end up straight back there. And that erodes our mental health. You know, it's hard. And we're just going to kind of keep eroding our sense of self and worth. And then it can probably lead to kind of sustained periods of feeling depressed.
Yeah, that's interesting. Sometimes I'm like, I don't think I'm depressed, but like I'm starting to feel a little bit numb because I'm so exhausted, and I don't know where that line is. It's probably quite a grey area.
Yeah. It's a grey area. Yeah, and the one can lead to the other, and you can feel depressed when you're burnt out because you just don't have. It just takes the shine off life because you need energy, and I think this is something we need to realise. We need energy to be able to relax. Like, you need to feel safe in yourself. You need to have a resource within you to sit on the sofa in the evening and feel relaxed. Otherwise, you're going to be full of adrenaline and cortisol. You know, I'll be sitting on the sofa watching TV, and to anyone looking on, maybe even my husband, he sees me sitting on the sofa watching TV. I'm not relaxed. I'm sending emails in my head. I'm like going down the worst case scenario of goodness knows what. You know, I'm not there at all. I've got cortisol and adrenaline going around in my body. We need energy in order to relax. We need energy to rationalize anxious thoughts, which is why when we're depleted, we're more likely to have kind of more intrusive and anxious thoughts, because we need energy to be able to kind of come up against those and ground ourselves. And we need energy to laugh, because you need to feel at ease and present in order to laugh and enjoy the nice moments that come up in life. Otherwise, we're just kind of braced and we're just in survival mode, and we can't enjoy and relax and lean in and enjoy the connections and relationships and have fun, because we haven't got enough resource to be able to do that.
It's so good. It all comes back to energy. I heard a quote. It says, tension is being who you think you need to be.
Yeah.
And relaxation is being who you are.
Yeah. So true though, isn't it? You know that there are those people that you spend time with and you literally just go like, oh, and you don't, there's no mask, there's no pretense, there's no pretending. You feel accepted and you're able to accept yourself. And I think a lot of the pressure and weight we carry is that we can't accept ourselves in our own kind of messy, limited, unfinished state. We will always be this way. There will always be more we could do. It's limitless. The to-do list we could always find ways to be more efficient. We could always find ways to be better, always, until we die. So yes, it's great to want to grow, but we need to accept ourselves in this like perpetually unfinished state that we're in.
I love that. And why do we want to grow in the first place? Like, we're trying to fill a void of not feeling enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's that. you know, do you feel deserving of rest and relationship and good things?
And energy.
Yeah.
And connection and love. And what were your changes then? Like you said there was the two sides to it, right? The biological side and then the psychological side.
Yeah, so the physical side of it all was that, you know, my version of parenting is quite a lot because I've got an autistic son. Like, there's a lot of demands on my energy and my resource. So I had to kind of think, what can I do that's supportive for that? You know, and it's been having conversations with friends who really get it, because actually feeling really seen and understood, it meets a really deep human need that we have. So investing in those relationships, getting some insight, support, you know, resources has been really helpful. But also just realizing that I'm never going to get it right all the time. And that's not failure. That's just humanness. So having more compassion for myself, having a really human response to circumstances, because I think often we can get really cross with ourselves, you know, if we're finding hard things hard, when actually we're just finding it hard because it is.
Yeah.
So finding more compassion, letting people love and support me. And I find it, and I think so many people in kind of service jobs, you are often in those roles because you find it easier to be the giver than the receiver. You know, I've always been the person that people go to. I've always found it easier to talk about someone else than myself. And I really had to let other people be that for me.
You'll know this better than I do, what's that, the triangle of like victim,
victim,
perpetrator,
and rescuer.
Okay.
So we can find ourselves for whatever reason, and there normally is a reason therapeutically as to why we feel more comfortable in one of those positions, and it might be that you are the rescuer. And in your life you are most comfortable, and what fits most with your identity is being the helper. But it needs to be a two-way street. Because again, that's another, like, if you give consistently more than you receive, that's another way to kind of descend into burnout.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that can be a challenge of identity, and sometimes even the job that you've built for yourself, when you realize, I need people, I need them. And it's not because I'm lacking, it's just because I'm a human.
Yeah. I also think like there's, you know, like the law of polarity, there's good and bad in everything.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that so deeply, that there's a part of me that needs to be in the rescuer or like the helper, carer, giver place, and have that as part of my identity. I think that took me away from being the victim. If I was caring for people, then I can't be the victim, so I'm safer in that position.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a coach, a speaker, and all that stuff to help people. So when I'm doing that, I'm comfortable to a point, and then the unhealthy bit is if I do that too much. Like over the summer I did lots of speaking and loads of coaching and launched my group program and all that, and I was so deeply in that giving identity. That's what I think has led to this burnout. And
when that is your role, it can be really hard for the people that love you and care about you, because they see that you're doing so much, and they can see that part of you is kind of burnt out and struggling, but you probably find it hard to let them in to that part of you.
Yeah, isolation.
I remember going to therapy because I still have the same therapist kind of 15 years later, but as training as a therapist, you had to have therapy as well. And I just saw it as like a tick box thing, where I was like, I'm here, I don't need therapy. Like I'm here I want to learn how to help other people. So I just went along, and I remember her saying once to me, Anna, there's no job for me here. And not because there wasn't stuff I needed therapy for. My gosh, there was. But what I would do would say, right, this is what I'm struggling with, This is why I've analysed it, so you don't have to do that. And this is what I'm going to do about it, so you don't have to tell me either. And it was also neatly wrapped up that there was no in for her. There was no mess for her to sit with me in. It was all just so neat and packaged that it was like, right, here it is, but don't worry about it. Like, I don't want to burden you. You know, I'm fine. And I think we need people in the mess. We need people to walk through the hard times with us. And I think sometimes we can, especially if we feel really self-sufficient, that's one of our coping mechanisms. We can think, what's the point? It's not going to change anything. What can they add? They can't make this easier for me. But then we're cutting off connection with people. Like, we need people with us in it. We need to know that we're not alone in it. And yeah, people might not be able to take away your work stresses or give you an answer for this uncertainty, but you know you're not alone in it. And it can feel really vulnerable to have someone alongside you when things are messy. But that's a really deep human need that we have. Yeah, that goes unmet when we just package it up and just talk about it in retrospect when it's not really an active issue anymore.
It almost feels like the deepest form of trust to allow someone to walk that path with you for maybe one of your scariest walks that you'll take.
Yeah. And I think we can fear people seeing us as weak when actually really it's our own fear of feeling weak that's causing the problem, that's causing the disconnection. And I think the more we can become accepting of the fact that we are weak as well, we are needy, and we are vulnerable as humans. And that's not because we haven't grown enough or learned enough, or we don't have enough self-insight. Again, it's just, we're always going to be this way in parts of us.
Yeah, and that's it, it's in parts, isn't it? Because it's not black and white. It doesn't mean that you are always going to be like that.
Yeah.
A lot of these feelings, and the opposite, courage, strength, they're all verbs, they're doing words, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, and they can coexist. We are a big ball of contradictions. Like, I am so happy standing up there. Give me 1,000 people to talk to with no script. Shove me up. I will be like in my element, like so happy. But then send me off doing the small talk afterwards, and I'm like, I've got the social anxiety. I'm like, don't know what to do with all my arms. I'm like, just trying to think about what to say next and wondering if I'm being boring. And I used to think, am I just fake when I'm standing up there? Like, which is the real part of me? But the truth is, we're broken and we're whole. We're strong and we're vulnerable, and we're all of those things. And I think as soon as we stop trying to label ourselves in these kind of like binary ways of, I'm strong, therefore I shouldn't be struggling with this, or I'm brave, therefore I shouldn't be scared about that, and just think, I'm all of those things.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's funny, actually, I'm playing with writing my first book.
Ooh, like 3 chapters. Yeah. And
one of the things I was writing about, this is right in the middle of the thing that's led to the burnout, was about labels and how they're like useful to a point. You get a new job and you have a job title. It's good for a period because it tells you kind of what you need to do, what you need to learn, what you need to upskill, where the gaps are maybe, and sort of gives you a bit of a North Star, a bit of direction to a point. Once you've learned all that, then it becomes a limitation. And I kind of was thinking about this and meditating on it, and the same even happens in like illnesses. You get diagnosed with anything. We could even say depression. Well, that's a dangerous one to go into, but it works to a point because it takes away this anxiety or this worry or concern about how you've been feeling, because it goes, you've got this thing. You go, oh, okay, that kind of alleviates a little bit of the worry. And to a point, if you start getting better or changing or healing, it will limit that healing at a point as well, because you've labelled yourself with this diagnosis. So I think that's amazing what you're saying. Like, it's almost like let go of the labels when you don't need them anymore.
Don't let it be, the label doesn't need to be your identity. And I think that's where this happens, is we have this like way of describing or identifying a part of us, and we take that and we say, I am this. I am depression is different to saying I am struggling with depression. One is labeling yourself, that becomes part of your identity and how you see yourself and how you interact with the world. And another one is like, this is something I have right now on my plate. It's not always going to be, this isn't who I am. It's a way of describing a part of what's going on for me at the moment. And I think this is often what happens when we fail. We can say, oh, I failed. This didn't go so well. that's on my plate, this is what I'm dealing with. Or we can say, and this is really destructive, and this is what corrodes our self-esteem and finds us pushing harder and harder and driving ourselves more into burnout, is I am a failure. And they're two very different ways. Like, either we use that label and that word to describe something that we're kind of working through at the moment, or we use it as a way to describe the entirety of who we are.
Yeah, that's like, you're just making me think, like, everything is about action. I don't know whether this is where you're going with it, but you know, good. If it's like you can be. Alan Watts had this great quote which said, "You're under no obligation to be the person you were 5 seconds ago."
I love that.
Yeah, because you can be depressed 5 seconds ago, and then you can be happy 5 seconds later because something else happens. Or you can be a failure 5 seconds ago, and then suddenly you can be in a creative space of expression 5 seconds later. It's about the conscious action that you choose to take.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, every day we wake up a completely different person, a different version of ourselves. We will never be this version of ourselves again, because we're always kind of taking on information. We're always learning and changing. Like, physiologically, stuff's always changing as well.
Just a short break from this incredible conversation to talk with you about how I transformed my energy management, transformed my quality in sleep, transformed my mood, all through my relationship and consumption of caffeine. About 11 years ago now, I've spoke about it a little bit on the podcast before, but about 11 years ago now, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and it was one of the toughest things I've been through. It altered the way that I was able to experience many things. It had a huge impact in my capacity, of course, and it meant that things like caffeine were quite difficult for me to consume in a way that benefited me. So about 3 years ago now, I discovered an incredible brand called London Nootropics, and ever since then I've consumed their Mojo product nearly every single morning. I'd say for the last year I have consumed it every single morning, and the Mojo product includes ingredients such as ginseng, which is amazing for waking the body up in the morning, but also importantly cordyceps mushrooms, which has transformed the game for me. It's amazing for boosting energy, really great on the immune system as well. So particularly when my immune system was low through my periods of chronic fatigue, it was massively helpful. It helps me to sustain my energy without a crash. There's no jitters. And for me, running my own business, as well as having 2 young children, it has really been game changing. So if you feel anxiety, if you feel deeper tiredness and fatigue anytime during the day, particularly in the afternoon and those crashes that follow with high caffeine consumption, I recommend strongly that you give London Nootropics a try. I'm going to be doing an episode with the founders, Zane in particular, who's a friend of mine and has been for a long time. And I'm only doing sponsorships with brands that I consume, with friends that I admire and businesses that are helping the world. And that's why I'm excited to support them and also to support you if you're looking to improve your relationship with caffeine. So go to londonnootropics.com with the code TAKEFLIGHT and you'll get 20% off your order. I still actually personally pay for my coffee subscription with London Nootropics, so that should change soon. But in the meantime, please do enjoy, and I would love to hear any feedback, how it has benefited you positively as well. Enjoy the rest of this fantastic episode and we'll see you soon.
So was that your first therapy session then? You know, when you were saying you had to do it as part of your training, was that the first time you'd experienced it?
That was my first, experience of kind of more longer term therapy that wasn't just solution focused, like, oh, I'm anxious about this. It was.
Because you kind of just went generally without anything specific to talk about?
Yeah, I just had to go to therapy for a long time and just experience it as a therapist. Yeah.
What did you get out of the first few sessions?
Just how tightly wrapped I was, I think. I just realised how I found it hard to be any other way.
Yeah.
How much I needed what I was giving, but I didn't know how to receive it. It was my identity. My identity was the helper. It wasn't I'm Anna and I like finding ways to support people. It was I'm Anna and I exist to be of service to other people. That is the entirety of who I am.
Yeah.
So it took quite a long time to find a different way of being and living. I still battle with it.
Yeah. How old were you when you first went?
I was 25.
Yeah. And how long did it take to... What was it? Was it like, did you change the narrative? Was it... What helped the most?
Oh, just my internal dialogue, I think, was just abusive. I really believed that unless I was helpful to people, I didn't really have a purpose. Like, I used to when I was training, I was working in advertising part-time as well to earn. And then the other thing that I did was trained as like doing people's nails, like gel nails, right? So I'd go to people's houses and I'd do their nails, and I loved doing that because, again, it was just another kind of giving thing. And I'd have friends, if a friend came over for like a coffee or to come and see me, I'd want to do their nails as well, because it just didn't, I felt awkward about the fact that they'd come to my house to see me. It didn't feel enough. Like, I felt like I had to repay them. I couldn't just give them coffee. I had to like do something extra, and I'd just be lavishing my friends all the time because I always felt like undeserving of their time and attention and friendship. So no wonder it was hard for me to be sat in a room with someone who was there for me. Like, it didn't feel enough that I was paying for those sessions. She used to put a glass of water, as therapists do, out every time. There'd be a glass of water and I would never drink it. No matter how thirsty I was, I didn't want to take or need anything. So it was, you know, that was just so ingrained in me that I had to be self-sufficient and I had to sort myself out and help myself, and I didn't need anyone else, but I really, really did.
It's funny, isn't it? Because people listening will absolutely resonate with how you're feeling and might even be there right now. And it can feel self-absorbed to talk about these things in these ways, but it's once you get a certain level of awareness and you have like a bird's eye view on how you used to think, it's coming from a different vantage point. Like, it's not like, it can sound a lot, but do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it can sound a lot, but it isn't. It's suddenly having this self-awareness and different view on it changes everything. And I think people can do that if they are able to separate from the thought or the belief or the story. Or
absolutely, like, we can really challenge these things, and it really does change our lives. As I think we crave connection with people, but when we've learned that actually we don't need people, we're here for other people, we're never really connecting because it's not a two-way thing. Other people are opening up to us and we're helping them, but they're not able to help us, and it creates it makes it feel like a one-way street. And it never gives us what we really need. So I think what we tend to do, and this happens in so many areas of life, like if we feel like we failed, instead of just being kind to ourselves and thinking, I might do that differently next time, we just try harder. And this is often where burnout happens, is that, you know, we feel like we haven't done enough. We feel like we haven't done it enough. So instead of thinking, wait a minute, maybe I've got too much on my plate, maybe I need to pull back a bit, maybe I need to rest a bit more, we're like, right, how can I be more efficient? How can I do this? Like, I need to try harder. I need to do more. And we tend to just kind of layer more and more on top of what is already too much. So, yeah.
Yes.
It's a spiral.
You got to laugh at it sometimes, haven't you? It's crazy.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's just posting.
He'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's funny, like my first therapy experience was, my wife was like, you need to go to therapy. And I was life and soul of the party guy, very outgoing, type A, all that stuff. So it was so far away from what I would ever have expected anyone to say, let alone who I've been with. I've been with her for like maybe 10 years at that point. And I resisted at first, but then eventually I went because I realised in myself that I just wasn't feeling how I was normally feeling. And it was in there, I went for like anxiety, really. And then I think I had 12 sessions, and then like 6 sessions in, I said, I just really feel like I need to tell you something. I've never really said this out loud. And I told the story, which I've told on here before, which you might not be familiar with, but when I was 5 months old, my biological dad left or wasn't present. Well, like, they broke up basically. And then my dad, who brought me up as his own, you know, my mum got together, and that's how we grew up. But I never had a space to talk about it. I was told at 3 years old, and then it was sort of like left, I think, to protect me a bit. So it came up in that therapy session. So I know how valuable having that space is. I knew I was going to have to go for another 6 sessions anyway. In between that session and the last one, these thoughts had come up, and then we were talking about it. I was like, I just want to say this to like a third party who didn't know me. And then that sort of started the path. And I think every year, this was maybe 8 years ago that happened. Every year, the depth of awareness of how those events have affected us go deeper and deeper and deeper. Even to this burnout is the first time I've really acknowledged in myself a sense of unworthiness, which I would never admit to ever, because I'm the confident footballer who now I'm on stage and everyone looks like, oh, well, it looks amazing, this, that, and the other. You don't know that like so much of what I do is fed from this feeling of unworthiness and fed from the love of it, all of it. But when you're tired and fatigued and everything, you know, you tip into the other side. So
yeah, I mean, that really speaks to the fact that I think there is a fear of abandonment that features for so many people when it comes to the giving, you know, for various reasons. And I often see this as in therapy, like it's a common thread, and I can trace this back in my own life that, you know, the doing and the giving is sometimes trying to protect ourselves from being abandoned by people. I want to make myself worth something to you. I want to make it so that I am almost indispensable, so that you need me, so that you won't leave me. And I think what often happens and how we lead to burnout is that out of fear of being abandoned by other people, we're chronically abandoning ourselves. By fear of failing, by fear of disappointing people, we end up overlooking our own needs. We end up overlooking our own need to be supported and cared for, because that means to ask something of someone else. And then I think that can tap into that fear of, but if I need you, what if I'm too much? What if I'm too complicated? What if you really see me, you don't like what you see and you don't want me anymore, you don't want to be my friend anymore? So we do everything we can to try and prevent other people from abandoning us, but as a result, we abandon ourselves, and then we end up in burnout because we haven't tended to ourselves.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
And then also there's a part of it where it's like, almost like, let me just cut ties here because I can't cope with what I feel is necessary to keep this going so that you don't abandon me.
Yeah.
So I'll just
I'll just check out, and then I've been in control of that stepping away.
Because if you can't abandon me if I've already done it, or if I've already cut ties.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. And when we start recognizing these moments in which we feel, and this is, you know, this overachieving and the striving is so often fear-based. And when we know, when we're in that situation, we think, I'm so burnt out, I'm looking at my diary and I'm gonna have to cancel these clients. Like, that's the only way I can see. I can't give it what I need to give it. And then it's knowing that you're probably going to disappoint people. It's knowing that there's a potential they might think, oh, okay, well, I'll finish that, then I won't go back. But it's recognizing that actually sometimes we need to put ourselves in a position where we're disappointing people, and that other people can, to the main, withstand disappointment. And I think if we've experienced a massive disappointment in our lives somehow that has felt really kind of earth-shattering or just huge, that there can be this assumption that other people will experience that level of disappointment if we were just to say, you know what, I can't.
Because your internal world says that disappointment means this feeling or this.
Yeah, that they will feel abandoned actually if I'm to say no, that they
don't
won't
want them to feel like that.
Yeah, and they'll disconnect. So it's parenting ourselves, to be honest. It's kind of being our coach, being our own therapist in those moments where we know that we're fearful, and trying to support ourselves through taking that step, or asking for that support, or asking someone to accommodate us by moving a meeting. It feels like a massive thing to do. For some other people, they would do it without thought. I can't actually do that anymore.
Yeah.
Can we change it? Whereas for us, it might be that sense of like, right, this is what I need to do. I need to put my well-being above other people's wishes. You know, and to trust that they can withstand some disappointment, because we do all the time.
Do you ever go to like exercise or like a practice or a question that, if you're experiencing that level of fear in a decision or something, that you ask yourself, or that you tell people to ask themselves or to practice?
I think it's, what is the cost of carrying this out? You know, like you and very unlike me, I've cancelled a few things recently because I got to a point where I was sat on the sofa the other evening with my husband, just like done in, like just feeling so overwhelmed in work and parenting. And I was looking through my diary and I was like, there is no space. And he was like, can you not just like not do some of those things? And it was like this light bulb moment of actually I could not do some of those things. And I knew that was the only way that I was going to create the space that I needed. So the next morning I pulled out of like 4 different things and it was okay. You know, so I think sometimes it's recognizing actually the cost of doing those things to me could have looked like totally losing it with my kids again. It could have looked like just feeling really low and depleted and not being able to laugh, not being able to be present with my family because I'm just I'm living in survival mode. Actually, if that person was to really know that was the cost of me turning up to that meeting, or they wouldn't want me to be there. So it's just honouring ourselves, I think.
What you just said there about like the not laughing thing, you mentioned it earlier as well. Like, what are we doing if it's not fun and we're not laughing? Like, I almost feel like that is a gateway to identifying or building awareness to being on the path to burnout. It's like, am I experiencing joy? Am I having fun? Am I laughing with my kids or having fun with my friends? Because I think that was one of the first things that we sacrifice is the things we actually enjoy.
And when we look back, and in my book, so the uncomfortable truths, going through these things in life that are just facts of being alive, at the end, the last uncomfortable truth is that we're going to die. At the end of the day, we're going to die. And if you look at the regrets of the dying, it is normally, it's not that they didn't do that project or that they didn't kind of quite hit that result for that bit of work. It's that they didn't spend enough time just being.
Yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes we need to think, am I actually living aligned with the values, the things that really matter to me? You know, in this striving, in this doing, in this trying to find ways to prove to myself that I'm deserving of the space that I take up in the world and the relationships that I have, am I actually enjoying that privilege? It's very sobering.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, and I have to really monitor myself all the time to check that I am, because I can so easily move into that place of I'm all about the doing and not about the being. And we are human beings, you know, we need, this is it. At the end of the day, I'm not going to take my books with me when I'm dead. At the end of the day, you know, this is it. And I think sometimes we're striving and we're working so hard to get to this point where we can sit down and go like, oh, I can enjoy life now. But will we ever get there?
Yeah.
We have to claim that today.
Oh, honestly, Anna, like, I was chatting with my wife about this the other day, and you said you're moving house soon, because so much of the chaotic behaviours have been because I need that much money, I need that opportunity, I need that thing to go, that new product there, because then we'll get the house, and then when I get that house, then obviously I'm going to be okay. But I would just take the same chaotic mind and the same chaotic behaviours.
There'll be another, you know, it's like climbing up a mountain, and every time you think you're at the top, you look up and you're not at the top at all. There's like you're just at a ledge.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when those curveballs come in life and you get the phone call, or you get the message that just pings through your phone like any other message, or you get that bit of news, and we had this last summer, and it was like white noise, you know, like everything was fine and then nothing was fine anymore. Nothing was fine. And in those moments, you're not thinking about anything other than what really matters, you know. And I want to bring that awareness into my day-to-day life, because every day is a privilege. And when we're living so fast, we're not tuning into the fact that this day alone is like a miracle. Tomorrow, who knows? So it's like we need to live for the future. We need that awareness, and we need to be sensible, and we need to, like, it's good to do things that feel fulfilling and purposeful, but also we need to recognize that so much of the fulfillment and the purpose it's here. in this moment, because really this is the only thing that actually exists.
That's amazing. Like, just looking out there at the trees and the sun, and I know it sounds silly and a lot of people listen to me like, what are you talking about? I've heard this a million times before, but really, presence is it.
Yeah. And, you know, I lived through the loss of, so my sister died when she was 10. And, you know, at those times in life, the only thing, you just want boring things back. Like, I remember thinking, I just want a boring Sunday that I used to take for granted. I want just to be as a family at home with nothing awful going on. And it's these mundane moments that I think, these are the magic. Like, this is the magic, is the day-to-day, the boring that we so often overlook when we're reaching and we're striving for something in the future that feels like it's going to be all and end all. And we can just rush past these little moments of just boring magic that are actually the ones we want back when things go upside down. You know, it's not the mountaintop highs that we want when things go upside down. It's the boring, mundane. And I love boring because I think boring is a privilege. And I think tapping into that it's such a superpower, because every day becomes something that is more special.
Yeah. And what part of us is it that's saying it is boring? You know?
Yeah.
I remember people like, what's the highlight of your week? We're like, Sunday morning with match of the day and a coffee, like calm.
That's it, because I think we're so wired now. We're hyped up all the time. Our normal is chaos. Our normal is constant adventure and dopamine and being active, you know, mentally and physically. So when we slow down, when we rest, when we are being, it feels uncomfortable. It feels alien. It feels kind of pointless. You know, so we've become used to chaos, so that rest and stillness and calm, it doesn't feel enough.
Can I read you this poem?
Go on then.
I said I'd save the picture just to see if it feels like a good time to read it or not, right? So basically the story of this is, sadly my grandma passed away last year, which was really tough. My mum and auntie had like drew a picture and then written the words out of this poem for her, because she was wild like me, like just constantly thinking, and she would, if she was at the table, no one else was talking, but she was the best person ever in the world that I've ever met. I don't think you would have heard it. It's like quite a niche one.
I love it.
It's called Slow Me Down. Slow me down, Lord, slow me down. Ease the pounding of my heart by quieting my mind. Give me, amid the confusion of my day, the calmness of the everlasting hills. Break the tension of my nerves and muscles with the soothing music of the singing streams that live in my memory. Help me know the magic, restorative power of sleep. Teach me the art of taking minute vacations, of slowing down to look at a flower, to chat to a friend, to pat a dog, to read a few lines from a good book. Slow me down, Lord, and inspire me to send roots deep into the soil of life's enduring values, that I may grow towards the stars of my great destiny.
That's amazing. That's the antidote to everything we're talking about, isn't it? That's the antidote to burnout. If we don't want to live in this place of racing past life and then crashing and picking ourselves out and doing it all again, that is it.
Yeah. I think it's also like, I don't know if you resonate with this, but it's with like the work that you do, it can be quite intense in those conversations. I don't know how much one-to-one you're doing now.
Not as much at the moment.
Okay. So mostly, but even that, when you're doing groups and you're doing your talks and programs and stuff, it's still like, and you're doing lots of recording and, you know, and you're writing, that's very like intense work. That then sometimes the gaps in between are filled with like intense rushing around to get the next thing. I was even laughing with my friend on the way here. I was like, park at the service station, like quick, running, grab a drink, grab a snack, and then run back in the car and then get back on your way and drive fast and get there. And everything feels like a million miles an hour. And the quote, which is happiness is slowing down.
Yeah.
It rings quite true.
Yeah, and when we're living like that, our nervous systems literally think quite primitively, they think we're being chased.
Yeah.
Like our body, when we're rushing around, our brains think we're being chased by a bear, primitively. So we've got all this adrenaline and all this cortisol. So I think sometimes physically just slowing down our movement and our speech is that it's saying to our body, it's okay, you're safe. And really, what do we lose by slowing down a little bit, like maybe a minute and a half. But what do we gain? More presence.
Yeah.
Less burnout.
Yeah. What would you say is like any final on the burnout topic generally? Like how do we avoid burnout, or do we need to feel it to take the message and grow and learn, or what's your general take on that?
I mean, I always hope that people won't have to get to that kind of visceral burnout point to start recognizing that they're deserving of and need slowness and rest in their life. I don't want people to have to get to those curveball moments where they're just, all they want is boring normal back, to be able to start to appreciate that more in day-to-day life. But I think it is that it's starting, how can I, even if it feels uncomfortable because I've learned to be wired for chaos and that is my normal, like how can I start to bring some slowness, some presence, some gratitude, some
joy,
all of those things. Yes.
Amazing. Thanks, Anna. So we're going to do a second one, which will be less about burnout, more about, I don't know, something else. Big transformation, change, whatever. But yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.